In this daily drop, I'm going to talk about how to take these parts right here to create a portable and very sturdy T-bar that you can use in your productions. So let's go. All right, everybody, here we are. It is Sunday here in the barn. I'm shooting Monday's episode. A little grubby, getting things done for an upcoming production. And one of the things that I'm definitely going to need to do for the space that we're going to be shooting in is mitigate and deal with sound issues. It looks like, based on the pictures that we have of the space, there is some sort of acoustical treatment in the ceiling. It's a dark ceiling, so I have to keep that in mind when I'm thinking about lighting and stuff like that. A concrete floor, so I'm going to have to do something under talent to help with some of that, but I'm also going to need some moving or sound blankets to help with some of the potential audio issues in that space. Lots of windows, lots of reflective surfaces, lots of interior conference rooms that have glass. So we're going to have to solve some problems, and this is going to help me with part of that. Now, what is a T-bar? Essentially, the idea is that you have a stand and you have a bar that is going like this horizontally, and it is making a T. So what I have right here in front of me are things that I essentially stole from my booklight kit, the C47 booklight kit from FJ Westcott. And that is two 4-foot by 6-foot frames that have these hinges that you can self-stand on the floor. You can bounce light into one side, diffuse it on the other. But the beauty of Scrim Cine, along with their different length tubes and straight connectors and corner connectors and clamps that they have available, is that it's basically an erector set. So with the 4x6 booklight kit, sometimes what I'll do is I'll break apart the two frames and then have two 4x6s, and then you can do all kinds of other stuff, like I can hang it and create beauty lighting by pushing light through one of the sides. I can use it outside as a big bounce source. There's lots of different things that you can do. But in this case, what I've done is I've taken 3 of the 22-inch tubes. These are 1-inch by 1-inch aluminum tubes. They all have 3/8/16 taps, which can be handy. In this case, I'm not going to be using those. And then they have these straight connectors. They have corner connectors. Again, they have this Scrim Cine clamp, which you can purchase. And I'm just using these parts to put together this T-bar. And it's very, very simple. Sorry about that. What's really nice about these particular tubes is they're only 22 inches long, so they can fit in most suitcases and equipment cases and things like that. So what I'm going to do is take one of these 22-inch tubes, take a straight connector, and each of these, of course, is changing the length. So these are 2-inch straight connectors. So I've got this is going to go into here. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and attach one more. And these go together very, very quickly. There you go. And it's all positive locking stuff. Things are knocking about here. And one thing when I cut to the setup that you're not going to see is I didn't include these corner connectors, but these are great. And because I'm going to be using something that's 6 feet wide, if I add these, it can be pretty handy because you can hang things on here. So you can tie off. It just gives you a corner piece here with something. So I sometimes recommend putting these corner connectors on. It's not mandatory, but it can actually help. So I've got these 2 corner connectors, and now essentially I have a 6-foot wide bar. And then if I just take this middle part here, this is the center, and I use this Scrim Cine clamp, that's just going to basically go on there and tighten down. It's square, so it matches, which is really nice. Not that you couldn't use a Mathellini clamp or something like that, but you get the basic idea. All right, so that's the thing built, but very, very compact and relatively lightweight to travel with. So I'm going to be bringing that. So why the T-bar? Well, you can use them for a lot of things, and what's really nice is when you're in interior locations, you don't necessarily have to build out a whole frame, a 4x4, 6x6, 4x6. The T-bar can very often do the job without the time needed to build out a full frame and just less kit that you need to bring with you. So very oftentimes myself and a lot of DPs will take a T-bar and we'll just go ahead and attach a piece of fabric to it for diffusion or for bounce or whatever it's going to be. A rag just goes on there, and you don't have to skin an entire frame to do that. In this case, what I'm going to do, because of the sound issues that I want to deal with, what I did is I went to a local place we have here in the States called Harbor Freight. It's a very inexpensive place to buy things that you would normally buy at a Sears Hardware or at an Ace Hardware or a Home Depot or a Lowe's. And I bought two essentially moving blankets. They are gray on one side, black on the other, and about 6 feet wide, about 6.5 feet long or high. And they have 10 grommets on the top. And each one of those was about $14 US. So we're talking about $28. Usually they have coupons at places like that, so you can usually get it down to somewhere between $20 and $25. And I have black on one side for neg fill, dark gray on the other, which is still going to pretty much be negative fill, just slightly more neutral. I wish it was white, but I have another episode coming this week for a different setup and some different kit to show you something related to that. And now I have something, especially if I set it up the way I have it here on a rolling stand with a BOA bag down at the bottom to basically counterbalance the weight of that hanging double moving blanket, sound blanket, whatever you want to call it. And for very little money in terms of dealing with that sound, we have a solution that is easy to travel with. So that's basically the deal. You can build T-bars in a number of different ways. Because I have a lot of those Scrim Gym Cine parts, I can just take those from an existing kit. You can also buy those tubes separately, those straight connectors, those corner connectors, that Scrim Gym Cine clamp, all really handy stuff to have inside of your kit to build them out. Obviously, you can build an 8-foot T-bar. You could build a 4-foot T-bar, depending on what you're trying to do. And it's just a quick and easy way to be able to handle things related to lighting and to sound without necessarily having to build out full frames. So there you go. That's today's episode. I have something again later this week, which is going to deal with negative fill and bounce or fill, and is in the similar realm or in the same vein as today's episode, but just a little bit different. Don't forget to, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Daily Drop.